third, the front stretch, back stretch, they're going into top 9.
We've got an accident off the start.
Oh, but the greatest racing drivers in the world.
And he's going to give him a little help. There it is. Whoa.
He's up inside Bell. You see, he's made Bell spin. Unbelievable.
The premise, of course, is to determine who would be the world's greatest race driver.
Bobby Rahal and Michael Andretti tangle with one another.
Here comes Jeff Gordon around Zanardi.
Son and father touch coming down at the line.
Well, what a finish. Well, it's finally been done in an international race of champions.
ESPN, the worldwide leader in sports, presents Speed World. Today, from the lush Irish hills of Michigan, home of Michigan International Speedway, it is round 3 of the silver anniversary edition of the True Value International Race of Champions. After 2 events, Bobby Labonte, reigning Winston Cup champion, has a slim 3-point lead over Ricky Rudd. Kenny Brack from the Kart FedEx Champ Cars reigns in 3rd, and Dale Jarrett, who won the opener in Daytona, sits 4th overall in the point standing. Hello, everyone. I'm Jerry Punch. Glad to have you with us here at Michigan for what is the 27th time the IROC cars will compete on this 2-mile D-shaped oval. You know, over the years, 15 times this race has been won by stock car drivers, 9 times by open-wheel competitors, and twice by sports car guys. And you might think the stock car guys have an advantage. Well, guess again. A year ago, it was an open-wheel guy in Eddie Cheever who won this race. Speaking of open-wheel guys, it's great to have Scott Goodyear with us. I guess, Scotty, it's sort of great to have you and not great to have you. Scott Goodyear competed at Indianapolis, was involved in an incident, suffered a fracture in your back. First of all, how are you feeling, and when will you be able to get back in the race car?
Well, I'm feeling fine. I'm up and around, and obviously got released out of the hospital, and you're anxious just to get going, obviously, anytime that happens. And sad not to be in the car here. Going to enjoy the booth, obviously, and we hope that we're back in August, hopefully in time enough for the final IROC race in Indianapolis.
Couldn't have a better guy to sub for you than the all-time winningest IROC Series competitor, Al Unser Jr. 4 of his 11 wins have come on this racetrack.
They have, you know, and we've had a great friendship, obviously, since that close finish in '92 at the Indianapolis Motor Speedway. And I said to him this morning, you know, we were just laughing at Indianapolis last week. The thing I'm after is that baby Borg Warner that he has. You know, he's got 2 of those. So I said, great to have you in the car, but don't get too cozy in there because I'll be back for Indy.
We'll look forward to having you come back for Indy for the IROC finale. Now, representing the NASCAR Stock Car Series and the Stock Car ranks, the '87 IROC champion, Jeffrey Bodine. And Jeffrey, NASCAR's without one of their finalists in this race here because of an injury, Dale Jarrett.
That's right, but they have Dave Marcus in the car for Dale, and who better could they put in the car for the great driver Dale Jarrett is than Dave Marcus. He has more laps and more time in these IROC cars than anyone I know about, and so I think Dave will do a great job for Dale. But again, like Al Jr., he better not get too comfortable in there because Dale will be back.
Well, some super subs standing by for some of the open wheel and stock car guys as we get set for round 3 of the True Value International Race of Champions. And let's take a look at our starting lineup. Row 1, representing the Indy Racing Northern Lights Series, last year's winner here at Michigan, 43-year-old Eddie McKay Cheever Jr. And flanking him is Tony Stewart out of the NASCAR Winston Cup ranks. Let's go down to Ray Dunlap and talk to our pole sitter.
Well, the first career victory for an Indy Racing League driver in IROC competition came right here at Michigan a year ago, and that was Eddie Cheever. Eddie, you get to start up front today. Is that a good thing or a bad thing?
Doesn't matter where you start here, it's where you finish. I got 11 maniacs behind me and I want to make sure I don't finish with it. This is a hard track. It's better for us than Talladega and Daytona because the draft isn't that important, but it's going to be a tough one today. Cars are a little loose.
Okay, a little bit loose, and that's the way they're going to start.
All right, row 2, let's take a look. Jeff Burton from the NASCAR Winston Cup ranks. He won here back in June of '98. He is flanked by the guy who's subbing for Scott Goodyear. How about a 2-time IROC titleist and an 11-time winner with 4 of those wins coming here? That's Al Unser Jr. Let's hear from him.
Well, the career victory total for Al Unser Jr. in IROC is 11, but 4 of those races have come right here at Michigan. Al, what is the magic with you in this racetrack?
I really don't know. You know, we've had some good runs here. We've had some good cars here. Jay's given us some good stuff. And we've been very fortunate, been very lucky. So hopefully we'll be lucky today.
Okay, Al Unser Jr. back in IROC.
All right, thanks, Ray. Back in row 3, representing NASCAR's Busch Grand National Series, Jeff Green, the reigning Busch Series champion. He led 20 laps at Talladega. And beside him, Mark Dismore out of the Indy Racing Northern Lights Series. Back in row 4, Buddy Lazier, the 1996 Indy 500 winner and reigning Indy Racing champion. He starts inside row 4. Flanking him would have been Dale Jarrett, but now it was Dave Marcus subbing for the injured former Winston Cup champion. Marcus is 60 years of age. He starts outside. Now in row 5, Kenny Breck out of the Kart FedEx Championship Series. He is flanked by Ricky Rudd out of the NASCAR Winston Cup ranks. In the final row, our current points leader, Bobby Labonte, out of NASCAR Winston Cup. He is the reigning Winston Cup champion. Let's hear from him.
Well, a fifth-place run at Daytona and the big win at Talladega has Bobby Labonte as the point leader in IROC. But, dude, today you got to start back in 11th. Can you get to the front?
Well, I hope so. You know, again, these guys do a great job with the IROC cars. And, you know, Jason Norrie and all them, Dave and Dick and Jim Sauter set them all up. And hopefully we can work our way up there. And it's a fun racetrack for these cars. They're all set up real equal. And, you know, hope we can just be there at the end, get our car running really good there and get a good rhythm going. It's, you know, a few laps there, so we got some time to you know, to get set up and get in a good rhythm more than anything else.
Do you race for points or do you go for the victory?
Victory with victory is points, so we'll try that first.
Okay, Bobby Labonte, the point leader.
All right, thank you, Ray. 11 championship caliber drivers set to get it on for 50 laps, 100 miles here at the 2-mile D-shaped oval at Michigan International Speedway. Back in just a moment. Our ESPN coverage for round 3 of the True Value International Race of Champions is being brought to you by True Value, where help is just around the corner. Eleven cars rolling on this racetrack. We'll show you it's 50 laps, 100 miles. The purse for the series is over $1 million, up from $760,000 last year. The race record set by Mark Martin back in August of 1996 at 176.9 miles per hour. Okay, guys, open wheel versus stock cars. A year ago, Cheever gave the stock car guys a little bit of a spanking. Led here 3 times for 26 laps, but I think the stock car guys have had more time on this racetrack with the open wheel guys spending most of the week in Texas. How about it?
Well, that might be the case, but I really think this is an even shootout. The open wheel guys run here a lot. They're getting really comfortable in these cars. This is kind of a flat-out racetrack with the IROC cars. Drafting, like Cheever said, isn't as important as some of the tracks we go to. But so I think it's going to be a good shootout. And, of course, you know, I'm pulling for the stock car guys. How about you, Scott?
Well, I'll tell you, speaking to the guys in the trailer this morning, they're all pumped up coming from Texas for this race as we come down for the green flag now. They're ready to go for it.
All right, front row, Eddie Cheever and Tony Stewart. As the green flag waves, what a crowd, what a beautiful day for racing here at Michigan International Speedway.
Looks like Cheever is going to try and keep on the inside line. Obviously, the stock car expert on the outside, Stewart, is going to take a hard run around the outside. But as we know from this, Jeff, you can say that whoever follows the train is going to start leading those first few laps. And you can see Cheever sort of out by himself here a little bit right now.
That's right. You know, actually, the outside line, you keep your momentum up a little bit more through the corners, off the corners. It should be a little faster, but look at Cheever. He's driving back underneath Stewart.
Eddie Cheever on the bottom of the racetrack. Tony Stewart in second spot. He's in the orange Pontiac Firebird. That line car back there, that is Jeff Burton, as they are 3 wide out of turn 4.
Now, just to add into here, as we know, usually with our open wheel cars and our stock car guys, they all have spotters. And what Eddie was doing there coming up out of turn 4, usually your spotter would tell you that you're clear. He could actually just start to slide up in front of Stewart. But here, because there is no spotters with these cars, we're not on radio communication, you sort of have to go by feel, as I always call it, and sort of hope that the guy is actually clear of you before you actually go up there and take his line.
Well, no surprise that Al Unser Jr. in that white car has shuffled his way to third spot.
Al Jr., I'm sure, looking just forward to coming to this event here. Always run strong in these cars, and all the time a great competitor, no matter if it's an open wheel car or a closed wheel car.
All right, as you look at Eddie Cheever's bumper camera back toward the bright orange hood of Tony Stewart, let's check into the pits with Ray Dunlap.
Well, Jerry, I talked to Eddie Cheever just a little bit before this race started, and he said loose is going to be the word from all of these drivers for the first 15 to 18 laps, but they have these cars set up to come to the drivers and tighten up a little bit later in the race. They want them to handle just right at the end, so at first, they got to be a little cautious.
And that's a totally different concept than what most of the open wheel guys feel. They said normally their cars start tight and get looser, but in a stock car ranks, Jeffrey, it looks like the cars start here loose and get tighter as the race progresses.
That's a characteristic of these heavy cars with these tires that we have from Goodyear, and so. But I was impressed with Cheever at the start. Yeah, he was saying loose in the beginning, but he took the lead. It didn't seem to bother him. He's falling back a spot. Stewart's got behind, but you know, Eddie still looks good. I think he's a man on a mission. I think he wants a repeat here at Michigan and run a little different line than Stewart. And, you know, that's kind of a driver-car thing. Some drivers like to try to run a low line. Some run up a little higher. If your car's a little loose, you can run a little higher here at Michigan and help that out. And you're going to see a lot of different lines as this race goes on.
Riding along with Mark Dismore, who qualified fourth for the Indy 500 inside of row 2 just a few weeks ago. His onboard camera.
And Mark will be looking forward to Texas, obviously. He's sitting on pole at the Texas race this evening, so he wants to come out of this race fast, clean, and get looking forward to Texas because they got a strong Kelly grid up there right now.
Exactly, an all-Kelly front row at Texas. Mark Dismore and his teammate Scott Sharp both qualifying at over 215 miles per hour. Here's Buddy Lazier making a move inside of Jeff Burton. Buddy coming off a great run at Talladega and only his second ever start in IROC competition. He started third and finished third.
Talladega is a bit of a different track than here. I can tell you guys just from running at both Daytona and Talladega. Wide open, you always feel comfortable going 2 or 3 abreast. But Jeffrey, I'm sure you could add into this. Here it seems like there's just maybe a one-car lane right in the middle of the turn. Everybody sort of wants to dive for it and reserve it, although they are sometimes 2 abreast. And maybe as the race goes on, we might actually end up seeing that widen a little bit.
Well, the early laps here at Michigan International Speedway, and NASCAR Winston Cup's former Rookie of the Year, Tony Stewart, showing the way after 5 laps. Back in a moment. Beautiful day back at Michigan International Speedway. We got more action coming your way. NASCAR Craftsman Truck Series style. Now, earlier today, you saw an exciting race at Texas Motor Speedway, won by 2-time truck champion Jack Sprague. Next, we head to Memphis, Tennessee, home of the Blues for the NASCAR Craftsman Truck Series Memphis 200. That is Saturday, June 23rd at 1 Eastern Time, 10 Pacific. For more, log on to ESPN.com. Jr. beginning to make his way toward the front. He was the only one of the open wheel drivers that did not come here earlier in the week to test. In fact, the other drivers came here on Wednesday of this week to run some laps, but it rained off and on. Little Al was focusing on his Rick Gallus ride for the Indy Racing League and did not come here, but looks like he's none the worse for wear right now. As we check back in his pits, they're down on pit road with Ray Dunlap.
Well, Jerry, I always wondered if car color has anything to do with winning these races, so I did a little research on this race at Michigan. Al Unser Jr. won in the powder blue car, the red car, the lime car, and the green car, so I don't think it matters too much. He does have one career victory in a white car, though, and that came at Talladega back in April of 1996. So Al Unser can get it done in just about any color car he's in.
And Scott Goodyear, who he's driving for and who these points will go to, has got to be feeling pretty good about watching him run in second right now.
Absolutely. Both Al Jr. and myself enjoy Michigan International Speedway. We both run well here, and it didn't take him long to get back up to speed. And I spoke to him this morning in the trailer. He sure didn't seem to be too worried about not being here testing earlier this week. He seemed like he was going to be up to speed right away, which obviously he's doing for us.
Now, he has not competed in IROC since 1998. And the last time he was here in June of 98, he finished dead last. He finished 12th at Michigan, which is pretty unheard of for Al Jr.'s, considering his average finish here is less than 4th. So, and he has 4 wins, but he didn't do well his last time out, so maybe he's trying to make up for it today.
Well, we sure hope he does, and certainly helps overall in the points. But I look at what we have right now, and obviously we got Stewart leading, and then 3 open wheel guys with Unser Jr., Brack, and Cheever Jr. So, I'm not sure if everybody's just starting to put a little bit of time in now, but I'm sure we're going to see the guys from the Winston Cup Series start to move up shortly.
Jeffrey Bodine, our True Value telemetry on board with Kenny Brack shows that the speeds, very good competition, but the speeds in the 165-mile-an-hour range.
That's right. I mean, that's a little slower than the stock cars go here, and a lot slower than the Indy car goes here. But it's really fast in these cars, but it's a good speed to give all these drivers an opportunity to show off their talent of driving and drafting and handling. And right now they say you can run around here wide open, but I don't believe any of these fellas are driving around here wide open right now. It's pretty warm out. There's been a lot of cars on the track with Winston Cup practice and ARCA cars running. So these cars, right now, they're just feeling these things out, seeing what they can do, and they're doing a pretty good job at it. Look, they're too wide to the trioval, one out the single file. I mean, they're putting on a good show, but they're still trying to feel out these cars to see what they'll do and how they'll handle in this kind of condition.
Riding along with Bobby Labonte as we got a battle shaping up front here. That is Kenny Brack and Al Unser Jr. for second spot. Brack looking beneath Unser Jr. Now, Kenny Brack's had a pretty good last 3 or 4 weeks. 2 consecutive kart champ car wins. He won in Japan, won in Milwaukee for Team Rahal. So Kenny having a pretty good month of May, and now in June trying to round it out with his first ever IROC win, as he has made a move on Al Jr., but had to back off and think better of it.
Well, as you know, Jeffrey, there's nothing better for your confidence than winning a race or two. And interestingly, I think that those 2 racetracks are completely different between Japan and Milwaukee for Kenny Brack. So I think he's just done a great job, and obviously the team's run very strong and a contender for the championship for sure.
Well, it looks that way, and Kenny really likes these cars, this IROC series. It shows in the way he's been running and the way he's running right today. But I am thoroughly impressed with Al Unser Jr. I mean, he had very little practice in these cars, hasn't been in this IROC series for a while, and he's running in second place. So I'm like Ray. I think this guy can win in any color car, and right now the white car looks pretty good.
If you just joined us, Al Unser Jr. subbing for the injured Scott Goodyear. We have Scott Goodyear in the booth with us here as an expert analyst for this race only. We're going to kick him back down into the IROC car in August. We're also joined by the 1987 IROC Series champion, Jeffrey Bodine. That is Kenny Brack we are riding along with, the 1999 Indianapolis 500 winner, as he is holding on solidly to 3rd spot. 13 laps are complete. Back at Michigan International Speedway here in Brooklyn, Michigan, the Monster.com blimp covering today's race is 165 feet long, 55 feet tall, and when empty weighs over 5,000 pounds. Monster.com reminds you to think big when it comes to your career and your life. Thanks to the fine folks at Monster.com giving us some great shots of this round 3 of the True Value International Race of Champions. Well, guys, now Eddie Cheever has moved up to do battle for that 2nd, 3rd, and 4th spot. That is the white car is Unser Jr. The blue car right in front of Eddie Cheever here is Kenny Brack, and this is Cheever you're riding along with, who is our pole sitter here today.
Well, interestingly, we heard Cheever say at the opening of the show that drafting does not play a big a part here as it does at Talladega and Daytona. And we're seeing, obviously, right now, Stewart just sort of run that nice smooth line and check out from everybody else. And you wonder if these 3 guys got together that they might be able to actually catch back up. But like I said, the drafting just does not seem to make a big impression here.
Now, as you look at our onboard telemetry, you see the G-forces down here on the very bottom. You see the brake light come on intermittently, our True Value onboard telemetry. The G-force, you're seeing, you don't see it as much as you would see maybe in an open-wheel car, but you do feel it in a stock car, right, Jeffrey?
Well, you really do. I've actually driven an open-wheel car here a few years back when I was in the IROC series, and there is a tremendous difference, though, from stock cars or IROC cars to open-wheel cars in G-force. We just don't go through the corners as fast as the open-wheel cars do. We don't have the downforce, the grip, and you get an open-wheel car. I think I ran 4 laps that day on the track, and around 208 miles an hour, which was decent back in those days. And my neck was sore, my body hurt. I had bruises all over my body just as 4 laps from the G-forces put up by the open-wheel car that day. And stock cars and these cars just don't quite have the grip and the speed through the corners to do that.
Watching the battle, Al Unser Jr. in the white car. These are identically prepared, identically tuned Pontiac Firebird Trans Am. And there is Tony Stewart in the orange Pontiac. He is ahead by about a second and a half over Unser Jr. in second spot. We check back in the pits once again with Ray.
Well, Jerry, Tony Stewart currently 11th in the IROC Series points, and I posed a question to him earlier today. I said, look, you've got the orange car, which is the same one you had at Talladega, and you finished 10th there. Does that mean anything? He said, absolutely not. Each individual race, these cars are completely changed around, and they're ready to go for each individual racetrack, so you never worry about a car that you drove earlier in the year when you come to a different track, because they set them up completely different.
Now, Tony's had a pretty, he gets very close to the wall. He's had a pretty busy month of May. Of course, the doubleheader, 1,100 miles, running at Indianapolis. He had a great run, finished 6th at Indy, finished 3rd in the Coke 600 at Lowe's Motor Speedway. That is a phenomenal one-day effort.
Well, it was, and it's great what he did. But what do we call him here? Now, is he an open-wheel guy or a stock car guy? He runs both, so I don't know.
Well, he's an IRL champion, won it in '97. He's a Winston Cup Rookie of the Year, won the most races in Winston Cup a year ago with 6 wins. So which is he? Depends on if he wins, who's going to claim him?
That's going to be an arm wrestle, I guess, isn't it? We'll have to really call that one when it happens. But he's just doing a fine job right now. He's just doing a tremendous job. And like I said, his car is just sliding through the turn a little bit, and we'll see if it starts to go off or stays with him.
Yeah, he's really pushing the car. I mean, he runs right up against the wall, exiting both turn 2 and turn 4. I mean, that is the groove, but he is very, very close. And like we saw a lap before, actually got a little loose off of turn 2. But we'll see how long his car can maintain this kind of speed. I mean, right now it doesn't look like anyone has anything for him, but these races are long. The tires change, the track changes as the run goes on, and his car handling good right now might not be in 10 or 15 more laps.
Well, watching a battle, Buddy Lazier, reigning Indy Racing Northern Light Series champion, and of course 1998 Indy 500 winner. There's Jeff Burton and Ricky Rudd running side by side. As Lazier moves up to the outside, that's Lazier. You're looking back from Rudd's bumper cam to Buddy Lazier. You see now Jeff Burton getting in line in the lime-colored Pontiac. And here Breck once again trying to make some moves. Here comes Cheever on the bottom of the racetrack. Now, Eddie told me in Texas earlier in the week that the way he won this race a year ago was by watching what some of the stock car guys did and not abuse that right front tire. He said, use up that right front tire in the last 20 laps, you got nothing left. Well, he's got to be using that tire a little bit right now inside Kenny Breck.
You would think so, wouldn't you, Jeffrey? I mean, I would think that you use it more on the bottom side. I've not run one of these cars here, but is it harder on the car on the bottom or on the top side?
Yeah, it really is harder when you try to run that low line. Maybe a little more comfortable. He's waving. I'm going underneath. Way to hold up. What do all those hand signals mean? I'm confused. I'm a driver, and I don't know what all that meant. But there's Eddie underneath Labonte right now. And, Bobby Labonte's caught up with this group, and now it's a four-way battle for second place.
Well, he was trying to get Bobby Labonte, I think, to go with him, and instead Bobby went by him.
Well, you never know. Eddie was born in America, obviously, but grew up in Italy, so maybe there's some little Italian going on there. Who knows?
Now, a little bit earlier, we had a little bit of a contact with the wall from Kenny Breck, just scraping some of that DuPont paint off the side of that Pontiac Firebird, now from his onboard camera.
Just a small kiss of the wall. So that's just a little telltale that you don't want to be up that close next time coming around there. And we saw on the very right-hand side all that rubber that's sitting there. We call that the marbles. And what the IROC guys, I think, are doing are trying to move that line a little bit higher up the racetrack as the race goes on compared to where the Winston Cup guys were running this morning that I noticed.
All right, the man they're chasing is Tony Stewart, NASCAR Winston Cup competitor in the Evans Orange Pontiac Firebird. Back with more from Michigan in just a moment. At Michigan International Speedway, we are halfway here in round 3 of the 25th annual True Value International Race of Champions. For all the latest news and notes from the world of motorsports and for all the latest from NASCAR, trucks, karts, Supercross, and NHRA, visit rpm.espn.com. Get you up to speed on what's happening in motorsports around the world. What's happening right here, right now, is that Tony Stewart is leading.
And as we talked about before, checking out, just running that nice smooth line. Saw him get close to the wall one time, but seems like he's tightened it up coming off turns 2 and 4. And consistently, probably about a tenth or a tenth and a half quicker per lap, Jeffrey, wouldn't you say?
Well, that's right. If the 4 guys behind Tony would stay in line, they might have a chance at closing the gap. And they're not very willing to do that. They keep trying to pass each other, and Kenny Brack just moved by Al Jr. into second place. Cheever's underneath Bobby Labonte, trying to get into fourth. I mean, these guys are doing some really good racing behind Tony, and Tony's loving that because he knows that slows them down a little bit, gives him a little breathing room.
Tony Stewart's best career IROC finishes came last year. He finished second at Daytona and here at Michigan. He finished second to Eddie Cheever at Michigan. This year he hasn't fared real well. 9th place finish at Daytona. He finished 10th at Talladega, and he came into this race 11th in the point standings. Of course, Tony this year invited to sub for the injured kart FedEx champion Gilles de Ferran, who was injured in an off-season testing incident, and he wasn't ready to be able to get in the cars at Daytona, so Tony in for Gilles de Ferran. But having a good day today after a tough beginning in the 2001 IROC season at Daytona and Talladega.
So I guess, you know, subbing for Jill, I guess that does make Tony an open-wheel guy, right?
Hey, he's sticking up for our cause. I like
this. That's pretty nice. Well, you're being nice. Took your nice pills today. Battle back in the pack. Buddy Lazier inside of the car being driven by Dave Marcus, subbing for Dale Jarrett. Just knowing this, Dave Marcus, he was a long-time test driver for the International Race of Champions. They call him Mr. Wingtips. 60-year-old Dave Marcus, a 5-time winner in Winston Cup and a long-time friend of the International Race of Champions, subbing for Dale Jarrett, who has a torn serratus muscle. It's a muscle down on the inside, on the front of the rib cage.
And if I might add, Jerry, there is nothing better to come to IROC as a rookie, as I did this year, and have the test drivers here, like Dave Marcus and the group, come and help you and teach you about these cars and teach you about the tracks. Number one, they know their business, they know their job for sure, but just a great group of guys. They open their books for you and really try to help you, even though you're from the open wheel ranks. There just seems to be no disparity between the two.
You know, Dave Marcus is the same kind of guy for you in IROC as he would be for any other competitor in Winston Cup. Very, very helpful, always has, and always will be. 32 years he's been driving in the NASCAR ranks. Pretty good battle waging here. You look at Kenny Brack. That's Bobby Labonte in the yellow car, and Unser Jr.
And Cheever to follow. So hopefully, as we mentioned a second ago, these guys all get in line and catch up to Stewart. It's pretty impressive that Labonte came by himself from a little bit further back and actually caught up to these three, and now he's making a move going around Brack that his car is obviously working very well, running that high line, and we'll see if he can actually lead the charge now and draw these guys up to Stewart.
Yeah, he's found a line on the high side. That's where he passed Al Jr. and he passed Brack. And now aboard Labonte's car, you can see Al Jr. trying to use that same high line to go around Kenny Brack. And, boy, it looks like he might do it.
Well, maybe the track is changing now, guys. Obviously, the fuel load's burning off the cars. The tires are becoming a little bit different. And maybe that high line that the guys talked about this morning in the trailer might be effective now.
As you watch Kenny Brack there from the onboard camera of Eddie Cheever. Let's check once again in the pits with Ray Dunlap.
Well, Jerry, I've sure been impressed with Kenny Brack's career. I mean, with the IRL Championship and Indy 500 win and now 2 victories in kart. I asked him earlier today, do you ever get nervous before you go to do a race? He said, only one time in my life have I ever been really nervous going fast, and that was on my wedding day. He said, I was running about 30 minutes late trying to get to the church. I was running real fast in the snow, and I crashed my car and hit the wall. I thought for sure I wasn't going to make it there. He said that would have been the one race he'd have really hated to lose, but he made it there on time. Everything went okay, and he and his lovely wife, Anita, got married last fall, but he did crash the car on the way there. He said he was pretty nervous. He wasn't going to make it to the finish line that day.
Well, that would have been a big-time penalty box if you missed that one. That's obviously would have been a problem. Now, here is Unser Jr. now making a move back beneath Bobby Labonte, and as long as these guys run side by side, the guy in front of him in that orange car, Tony Stewart can look in the mirror and say, yeah, you guys go ahead, just go back and forth, run side by side. Let me pull away a little bit.
Yeah, he's ahead about 2.5 seconds now. I mean, these guys are doing such a lot of racing behind him, and Tony is just enjoying it and smiling, say, guys, put on the show. I'm gonna stay out here and try to win the race.
The laps are winding down here in round 3 of the True Value International Race of Champions, and 30-year-old Tony Stewart is showing the way after 33 laps are complete. Back in Brooklyn, Michigan, Mission International Speedway, as the laps are winding down in the 3rd round of the Silver Anniversary edition of the True Value International Race of Champions. Our True Value onboard telemetry. And take a look. You see Jeff Burton just dragging the brake there with his left foot, but look at the floorboard temperature in these cars. It's not even that hot of a day. That's how hot it gets in the race car, folks. 137 degrees at his feet in the inside of that Pontiac Firebird.
Yeah, and you know, a driver feels that. Now, we wear special shoes, padding on our shoes, insulation on the floor, and the floor still gets that hot. It's, you know, folks listening and watching these races don't understand just how intense the heat is inside a race car. And open-wheel cars are probably a little cooler than this. These closed-wheel stock cars just get tremendously hot, as I'm sure you discovered driving the IROC series, Scott. But open-wheel cars have got to be a little more comfortable.
They are, obviously, an open cockpit car, and the wind's blowing around you, obviously. But the biggest thing, I think, here is obviously the engine in front of you, the transmission in front of you, versus the open-wheel car, that it's all behind you. And you're right, I did notice a big difference when I actually drove the open-wheel car Monday, Tuesday test at the Speedway, went down to Talladega to test, and lo and behold, man, that was hot on the feet, without a doubt. Don't have any of those special shoes you talked about, but I'm going to have to look into those.
You need them if you're going to drive a closed car like these IROC cars.
I've seen some of these guys get out of a stock car after 500 miles on Sunday, and their heel looks like a steak someone has put on a grill. Huge blisters, and it takes months to heal.
It really does. It's been, yeah, I've seen guys climb out of cars, but I've seen drivers, and I'm one of them, have been hauled out of the car, pulled out of the car because the heat was so intense that day. It just drained every ounce of energy the driver had. They couldn't get out by themselves. They needed assistance.
Well, closing in on 10 laps to go, Buddy Lazier started back in 7th spot, currently being shown in 9th position. Tony Stewart, our leader. Al Unser Jr. in 2nd spot. Bobby Labonte, who is the points leader coming into the day, with a 3-point advantage over Ricky Rudd. Labonte started back in 11th. He is being shown in 3rd spot. Eddie Cheever, the pole sitter, is 4th. And Kenny Breck, out of the CART Champ Cars, is in 5th spot overall. Rudd now moves into 6th. Back with the final laps of True Value IROC Round 3 from Michigan in just a moment. Back at Michigan, final laps, they were 3 wide and 4 wide a moment ago, then 3 wide, now 2 wide. As Jeff Burton finally is able to make a move. He and Rudd were 4 wide, 4 abreast a moment ago. That's Lazier involved. Dave Marcus, Rudd, and Jeff Burton in the lime green car. Now Burton pulls away by 3 or 4 car lengths and starting to get racy here in the final 10 laps.
And that's actually like the 3rd group of cars. There's 3 groups out there. Tony Stewart's one group. He's out in front by about 2.5 seconds. The next group of cars racing for 2nd, 3rd, and 4th. And then this other group, which there's more racing going on in this 3rd group than anywhere else on the racetrack right now. And these guys, even though they're not going for the lead, they're still wanting to race and beat the other guys.
Well, certainly putting a great show on for the fans. And what we have happening right now is I don't think anybody's going to catch Stewart. Obviously, these guys behind him have not grouped together, and Stewart's going to start to catch a bit of a tow off of the car just directly ahead of him of Mark Dismore. So once he does that, then he's going to have some good speed coming to him, and with a few laps left to go, we're not going to see these guys challenge Stewart at all.
Pretty good battle for 8th spot. Lazier and Rudd running side by side. Now, just a few moments ago, up in turns 3 and 4, here's the onboard camera for Buddy Lazier. Watch this battle. Here goes Burton down on the inside. He's going to pull down beside Dave Marcus. And what does Lazier do? He says, I think I'll make it 4 wide.
Right down on the apron. And here at Michigan, you can get away with that. I know we used to do that a little bit on the open wheel cars. Not that much of a change in between the flat and the banking here. Some tracks, though, you can't do that. You can't be that lucky.
No, this is a great track to race on, to drive on for drivers. It's wide. It's fairly smooth. A lot of grooves out there. It really, and it gives the driver a choice of where he wants to run and where his car will run, which that's what drivers love, is a choice where you can put your car and try to make the passes and get the most speed out of the car.
Why don't we check in quickly with Ray Dunlap. Ray?
Well, Jerry, I wanted to ask our experts what it's like to be Ricky Rudd today. I mean, he won the 92 championship in IROC, and this year he's currently second in points after a second at Daytona and a fourth at Talladega, but he hasn't been able to move up at all today. He's stuck back there pretty much right where he started. Guys, what's that like to drive a car and be that kind? Is it frustrating?
Yeah, it's frustrating, for sure. I'm sure Ricky would like to see a caution so everyone would regroup and have another chance at getting towards the front, but right now it's just so spread out that he doesn't have much of a chance. He's just fighting for every spot he can get, and that's what a driver does. No matter if you're going for first or going for last, you fight and try to get that spot the best you can. And Ricky's just out there doing all he can, and right now he's not going to be happy with this finish, but he's not giving up.
One guy that's going to be very pleased with his run today is Tony Stewart. A year ago, he finished second after starting 8th. He finished second to Eddie Cheever in IROC, and then the very next day came from 28th starting spot to win the NASCAR Winston Cup Kmart 400. So no matter where he starts at Michigan, he ends up running awfully well. And, of course, he's got a big weekend here coming up at Michigan International Speedway as well. But today, hoping to get his very first IROC Series victory.
He's well on his way, that's for sure. He's lapped Mark Dismal more, and you know, I'm still impressed with your car, Scott. Al Unser's in it, and he's up to second, and he's running lap times comparable actually to Tony, and actually a little faster lap. So I don't know. I mean, there's only a few laps to go, but you never know what might happen here.
Well, 2.9 seconds behind, but as you mentioned before, a great observation. Probably just need those guys to all group together in a group of 4, which I thought was going to happen as soon as Labonte ended up on the scene, but they just kept fighting, and little experience that I have in these things, boy, you can sure find out fast that if you're not all in a line, you're not going to go very quick.
Al Unser Jr., 13 times in the International Race of Champions, 11 wins that tied him with the late Dale Earnhardt for the most all-time in this series of champions among champions. 2 titles. He won the championship in his rookie year in IROC in '86 and did it again 2 years later. 4 of his 11 wins have come right here at Michigan. So a pretty good guy to have subbing for Scott Goodyear, who hopes to be back and hopefully will be back in August for the finale of the International Race of Champions.
Yeah, I really shouldn't be saying I'm really impressed with Al Unser Jr. I mean, you expect this kind of a run out of Al Unser Jr. I mean, he is a great racer. Whatever he's gotten into, he's driven the wheels off it. And so, yeah, I mean, we kind of all expected him to run good here today, but
and remember in 1999 he was scheduled to be in IROC and had to pull out because his daughter Cody was diagnosed with transverse myelitis, and Bobby Labonte got in and drove the entire series and then donated all the money to the First Step Fund for Cody Unser. And for those of you who have been pulling like we have for Cody Unser, I talked to Little Al, and she's continuing her rehab and making progress, and we continue our prayers and wishes to Cody Unser as she watches her dad, Little Al, right now running in second spot here in the final laps of IROC 25.
Well, that was a big move from Cheever, obviously trying that tight line underneath, and probably just got a little bit loose coming off of 2 and just caught it. Nice catch, actually, but, you know, 4 laps to go. Everybody's looking for those points right now, trying to place yourself in what you hope is going to be the right place at the end.
And that's the story here. Remember, 4 races by invitation only, and it all comes down to points. It's not who wins which race, it's how many points you get in the finale. As you watch Bobby Labonte, who was the points leader coming into the day with a slim 3-point lead over Ricky Rudd.
Now, did you see that? If I may interrupt, a beautiful move by Brack. Got a toe, obviously, from Cheever. Ended up going down onto the apron. Got past both Labonte and Cheever in a nice, quick move with 3 laps to go. We'll see if he stays up front.
that's right. That was a great move and very aggressive move. But you're right. 3 laps to go. You try to put your car, yourself in the right position and take every advantage of what you can do. There's Eddie Cheever. Whoa, that was a great save, Scott. So you got loose underneath, and that'll happen. The air comes off these cars. You rely on air. You pinch the car down, turn it down to the bottom of the racetrack like Eddie was, and it's very easy, and it happens very quick to get loose like Eddie did. But he did a great job saving it.
2 laps to go. Here's the battle. That is for 4th position. Tony Stewart, the leader. Unser Jr. running second. Kenny Breck has pulled away in third. And these are the guys battling side by side for fourth. Cheever Jr. and Bobby Labonte.
And that little slip a few laps ago didn't seem to scare or slow Eddie down. He's still on the bottom side of Labonte trying to make the pass.
And digging down there, as we always call it. You stay low, you dig and dig and dig. And obviously, he's just now got past Labonte, and he's obviously just going to set his sights on Brack, who's just in front of him. And with only 2 laps to go, going on to the final lap, time is going to run out.
Well, white flag is waving for Tony Stewart. He is just less than 2 miles away from his first IROC Series win. Stewart, the leader. Unser Jr. subbing for Scott Goodyear. In second spot, there is Tony Stewart. True Value colors on that Pontiac Firebird Trans Am. There's the white car for Unser Jr. subbing for Scott Goodyear. Then comes the blue of Kenny Breck, coming off 2 consecutive wins in kart FedEx competition. Then Cheever, last year's winner here at Michigan. Then Bobby Labonte, the reigning NASCAR Winston Cup champion. And here comes Bobby back.
Trying to go underneath Eddie, but didn't quite make it. And it looks like Tony Stewart wins the race.
Tony Stewart becomes the 38th different driver to win in IROC competition as he wins for the first time in his career in IROC racing at Michigan International Speedway.
Well, great finish right at the very end with Marcus subbing for Jarrett, going down on the apron, looking for a little speed. The thinking there is that you're going to roll down the hill, obviously, and gain more speed.
And some bumping from Rudd and a couple other cars coming across the stripe. While Tony Stewart started on the outside of row 1 in the Evans Orange Pontiac. We'll come back and talk to the IROC winner at Michigan in just a moment.
It's actually right here.
Back at Michigan International Speedway, round 3 of the 25th anniversary True Value International Race of Champions is history, and Tony Stewart has won it for the first time in IROC as he climbs out. And listen to this crowd. It's a big hug from the Make-A-Wish children down there, courtesy of True Value. Let's go down to Ray Dunlap.
Well, Jerry, he was third here in '98, second in 2000, and today, buddy, you smoked him. How was it out there behind the wheel?
It was kind of wild, believe it or not. I know it probably looked easy, but the first 25 laps it was loose, and I knew as the run would go on and it'd keep burning off fuel, it'd get tighter. But Jay Signori said yesterday before we got in the car for practice, he said, you won't be able to hold it wide open all the way around. I ran it wide open for 50 laps, so it was just real close. I mean, if you hit your line just right, you could stay flat, and if you missed it a little bit, you had to crack it a little bit. So I just concentrated on trying to get in the lead to where I could get in clean air and try to save the front tires.
This is your first victory in IROC, but you're now at 39 points and made a big move. 1 race to go. What would you think if you actually had a shot at winning this championship?
Well, it seems I think of winning any championship. I mean, this is a pretty prestigious championship to win. I mean, the Signori family and Goodyear and True Value, everybody that puts this series on, they do a really good job of giving us 12 equal cars each week to run, and it's a great honor just to be a part of this series, let alone have an opportunity to challenge for the win.
The car is Evans Orange. It's chassis number 20, and it was driven by the victor, Tony Stewart, the winner here at Michigan.
Well, Tony Stewart dominated today and leading 48 of the 50 laps in this 100-miler. There's the unofficial finish. Tony Stewart, Al Unser Jr. Now, Stewart's a stock car / open wheel guy, so we'll split that one. Al Unser Jr., the subbing for Scott Goodyear, finishes second. Kenny Breck, the kart FedEx. So 2 open wheel guys finishing second and third. 3 make it Cheever, second, third, and fourth. And Bobby Labonte, reigning Winston Cup champ, rounding out the top 5. There's Lazier, Burton, Marcus Green, Ricky Rudd, and Mark Dismore. Those are the 11 competitors in this round 3 of IROC. Back with final thoughts in a moment. Our ESPN coverage for round 3 of the True Value International Race of Champions has been brought to you by True Value, where help is just around the corner. Let's go down to Ray Dunlap, who's standing by with our second place finisher.
Well, his teammate Bobby Labonte is talking to Tony Stewart. Labonte will hold the point lead, but I was very impressed with Al Unser Jr. today. 14 times you've run here at Michigan and 12 top 5s, but today it just wasn't quite enough.
Yeah, Tony just had a little bit too much for us there, but really I just want to thank Jay Signori and all the IROC boys. They prepare these cars so well, and they're just a pleasure to drive, and they've gotten better and better every year, and And what can I say? We enjoy it very much, and I want to say hi to my little Joe back home.
Well, it was sure a lot of fun having Al Unser Jr. back behind the wheel.
Indeed it was, Ray. What a performance he puts on, and the points tighten up. Take a look now. Just 1 point separates Bobby Labonte from Kenny Breck out of the kart champ cars. Eddie Cheever 5 more back in third, a tie between he and Tony Stewart. Ricky Rudd, there's Marcus subbing for Jarrett. Unser and Goodyear. So you gained some ground there with Al Unser Jr.'s second place finish, Scotty. And there's Lazier, Jeff Burton, Jeff Green, and Mark Dismore rounding out the top in the points. Now, guys, final thoughts. A stock car guy won it, but how about the impressive performance by open-wheel drivers finishing second, third, fourth, and fifth?
Well, that's right. They really kicked butt on the stock car guys today, but it was a great race for Tony Stewart. This is a fantastic series. But I was really impressed in victory lane when Tony gave a hug to the Make-A-Wish child. I mean, I think that was the best part of my day today. How about you, Scott?
Well, I'm thinking we're going to take Tony Stewart as an open-wheel guy, grew up in those midgets and everything like that. I think we're going to claim that for him, and then obviously top 4 guys in open wheels. A great day for that, and hope to see you back at Indianapolis.
Hope to have you in the car at Indianapolis coming up. Our finale on August 10th at 7 Eastern Time on ESPN. That's round 4 of the True Value International Race of Champions. For Ray Dunlap, Scott Goodyear, and Jeffrey Bodine, I'm Jerry Putz, once again congratulating Tony Stewart on his win in today's third round of the True Value International Race of Champions. It's been a presentation of ESPN, the worldwide leader in sports. For more, log on to ESPN.com.